This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is Scot Bertram. He is the general manager of WRFH, Radio Free Hillsdale at Hillsdale College. And that is where we are broadcasting live this morning. And, Scott, I'm a little bit despondent. I just have an hour left, and then I need to return behind enemy lines. So it's been a nice reprieve. But
again, we can figure out a way. The hotel front desk is hiring for greeters, and it's more of a people person job, I suppose.
As long as I get 24-hour access to the Ludwig von Mises library, I'm willing to do menial labor.
I'm not sure how much of that we have online, so you really have to come here to experience that.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Doors always open.
See if we can work something out. Speaking of working things out, Kim Jong-un, the pint-sized dictator of North Korea, confirmed that he visited President Xi in Beijing. Reports are that they had a lovely banquet, successful talks, that Un said he was committed to denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula, and so on and so forth, and that now Un is ready to meet with President Trump after these successful talks with the Chinese. How to interpret this and separate the truth from the propaganda. To help us do that, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Bill Gertz. Bill, of course, the senior editor for the Washington Free Beacon, author of the book I War and Peace in the Information Age. Bill, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning, Dan and Scott.
Morning. And so give us your read on that tete-a-tete between Un and Xi.
Yeah, this was a power play by the Chinese. They were caught flat-footed when the U.S. pressure campaign led Kim Jong-un to reach out to the U.S. and agree to hold talks with Trump. That left the Chinese on the sidelines, and this was a bid to try and get control of the talks. Chinese have been pushing for Kim and Trump to meet in China. The U.S. is saying no way. We relied on China for the last 10 years or so to try and fix the problem, and the Chinese were playing a double game, basically saying, yeah, they were going to work for denuclearization in Korea, but then secretly supporting Kim with lots of aid and third-party trade support and that kind of thing.
So we shouldn't take the pronouncement that Un is committed to denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula seriously.
Well, no. I think basically if you understand the way the regime works, it's a feudal system there. This is the third generation of a communist leader, and nuclear weapons have been the ultimate objective to keep him in power. I just don't see him giving up his nuclear weapons. That said, I think it's a good thing that he at least agreed to sit down and talk about it. If in fact it actually happens, we have to wait and see if they can work out the diplomatic details of such a big summit meeting.
Bill, when North Korea looks at the Iran deal negotiated by the Obama administration, look and say, look, here, this is what nuclear development, this is what aggression can get you, this kind of deal with the U.S. Is this part of the playbook?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Thinking that if there's some way that he could get massive infusions of billions of dollars in aid, as took place under the Iran deal, and now we have the Iranians funding terrorism, from Syria down to Yemen and elsewhere. It could certainly go that way. The Iran deal also is on the skids too. It's looking like the Trump administration will have to make a decision in May whether to pull out of the deal. There's pressure to do on both sides to keep the deal and to get out of it.
North Korea also feeling its oats after winning for the 11th consecutive year the International Earth Hour competition for the fewest lights on. Here's the question, switching gears just for a minute, Bill. So the expulsion of Russian diplomats, not just in the United States, but in the West general, Trump taking a harder line with Putin. What else needs to be done that can be done to properly chasten Putin? It's been suggested in the Wall Street Journal op-ed pages and elsewhere that unless you start to get to Putin's money, you're not really getting to Putin. So is there more financial pressure the Trump administration should be applying?
Yeah, this is a question that's been come up in the briefings this week with senior administration officials. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis was asked about it yesterday. What's the next step? Are they going to actually impose sanctions on Putin to go after his money? It's believed that he has an enormous chest of anywhere from $8 to $20 billion in funds, probably in Switzerland or other places, and they know where it is, and they could go after it. It remains to be seen whether they'll actually pull the trigger on those kind of sanctions, though.
You report in the Free Beacon, Bill, about 100 Russian intelligence officers are currently operating. Once the 60 leave, 40 will remain. So what kind of practical difference will getting rid of, 60% of Russian intelligence officers have?
It'll have a good impact. It's a significant reduction in their intelligence presence. It should have been done a long time ago, but these are people that are engaged in both what they call active measures, which are propaganda, disinformation, influence operations, as well as the more nefarious espionage to recruit people with access to secrets. Now, the good news is normally when there's a mass expulsion like this, the Russians will turn to their illegal networks. That's the deep cover agents that was highlighted by the show The Americans. Those networks were taken down back in 2010 when there was a major defection from the Russian intelligence service to the U.S., revealing their entire illegals network. So they're going to have trouble backfilling for those 60 expelled spies.
Yeah, and then The Americans is in its last season, too, ironically. So with respect to the new foreign policy team, and we were talking about, all of these enemies of America, Iran, North Korea, and the Russians, Bolton and Pompeo take much harder lines than did Tillerson and McMaster when it comes to nuclear deals and just general posture towards enemies of the United States. How do you assess a pivot that may be forthcoming with Trump's new team?
Oh yeah, I think it's really, really good sign. I know both Pompeo and Bolton. They're pros. They know what to do. Obviously, they've generated a lot of controversy from the left. They've taken political fire, outrageous claims that somehow Bolton is going to be a dangerous presence at the White House. He's a solid national security professional, and he'll do what the president wants. I think it's perfect for any president to pick the people who will follow his policies, and I think that wasn't happening under Tillerson and McMaster.
On that topic, John Bolton will do what the president wants when it comes to foreign policy. Based on your reporting, how seriously does the president consider advice from people like the newly appointed John Bolton when crafting a foreign policy response?
Well, it's very significant because basically people like Pompeo and Mattis and Bolton, they provide options, and the president picks those options. He doesn't normally go outside of the options that he's presented, so that's usually how the system works. I don't see that changing, even though Trump has a very strong instincts about what he thinks the policy should be. There has to be good people that can provide him with good options.
He is Bill Gertz, senior editor for the Washington Free Beacon, author of the book I War, War and Peace in the Information Age. Bill, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you joined us on the turnkey.pro answer line.